The warning lights flashed red across the command center of Galactic Council Station Alpha Prime. Ambassador Zethkara watched the displays with growing concern as his long, scaled fingers tapped against the control panel. The Velthari diplomat had seen many species make first contact over his 300 years of service, but something about this new arrival felt different. "Show me the vessel again," he ordered, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had negotiated peace between warring empires. The main screen flickered to life, displaying a massive ship unlike anything in the Council's extensive database. The human vessel called Terra Nova stretched nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern. Its hull was a patchwork of different metals, welded together with what appeared to be crude but effective techniques. Strange angular protrusions jutted from its sides, and the entire structure looked like it had been built by someone who cared more about function than beauty. "Analysis complete, Ambassador," reported his aide, a young Velthari named Kessara. "The vessel shows signs of multiple construction phases. Their technology appears to be several generations behind our standard, yet their power readings are unusual." Zethkara studied the data streams flowing across his screen. The humans had achieved faster-than-light travel, which automatically qualified them for Council contact protocols. But their method of FTL was completely unknown. Instead of the elegant subspace manipulation used by all civilized species, these newcomers seemed to be literally forcing their way through the fabric of space itself. "What do we know about their home system?" he asked. "Very little, sir. They call their planet Earth, located in what they refer to as the Sol System. It appears to be a single-star system with multiple planets. Most concerning is that they seem to have achieved spaceflight in less than 100 of their years." The ambassador's scales shifted color slightly, a sign of surprise among his people. Most species took thousands of years to develop from planetary flight to interstellar travel. The Velthari themselves had taken over 5,000 years. Even the aggressive Crexton Empire had needed 3 millennia. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of Terra Nova, watching the massive space station grow larger through the viewports. The structure was beautiful in an alien way, with sweeping curves and towers that seemed to twist through space like frozen music. It was also clearly designed to impress and intimidate anyone approaching it. "Dr. Wang, what are your sensors telling us?" Morrison asked his chief science officer. Dr. Lisa Wang looked up from her station, her dark eyes reflecting the blue glow of her displays. "The station is huge, Captain. At least 50 times the size of our largest orbital platforms back home. Energy readings suggest they have power generation capabilities we can only dream of, but what, Doctor? Their defensive systems are interesting. Powerful, yes, but they seem designed for specific types of attacks. Almost like they have rules about how space combat should work." Morrison nodded. Humans had learned long ago that enemies rarely followed the rules you expected them to follow. "Colonel Carter, your assessment?" Colonel Steve Carter stood near the tactical station, his weathered face studying the readouts with professional interest. "They're showing us their strength, but they're also showing us their thinking. Those weapon emplacements are positioned for maximum visual impact. They want us to see them and be impressed. Back home, we'd hide our real defenses and let the enemy guess." "Sir," called out Amy Patterson from the communications station, "we're receiving a transmission. It's coming through on multiple frequencies and includes what appears to be translation." "Protocols, put it through, Amy." The main screen shifted to show Ambassador Zethkara. His reptilian features were arranged in what Morrison hoped was a friendly expression, though it was hard to tell with an alien face. "Greetings, travelers from the planet Earth," the ambassador said, his words coming through clearly thanks to the translation system. "I am Ambassador Zethkara of the Velthari Empire, speaking on behalf of the Galactic Council. We welcome you to civilized space and invite you to dock at Station Alpha Prime for formal first contact procedures." Morrison stepped forward. "Thank you, Ambassador. I am Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel Terra Nova. We come in peace, seeking to establish diplomatic relations with your council." "Excellent, Captain Morrison. Please follow the guidance beacons to Docking Bay 7. Be aware that our security protocols require a small escort of our vessels to accompany you during the approach. Morrison watched as 6 sleek warships moved into formation around the Terra Nova. They were beautiful vessels, all flowing lines and gleaming hulls. They also looked like they had never seen real combat. "Amy, open a channel to the escort ships," Morrison ordered. "Channel open, sir." "This is Captain Morrison to escort vessels. We appreciate the courtesy, but want to assure you that we mean no harm. We will follow your guidance exactly." There was a pause before the escort commander responded. "Understood. Terra Nova, we are simply following standard protocols. Please maintain current speed and heading." Dr. Wang looked up from her station again. "Captain, I'm picking up some interesting chatter on their communication channels. It sounds like they're discussing our ship's construction." "What kind of discussion?" "They seem confused by our hull plating. Apparently, our armor is much thicker than they expected for a ship of our technological level. They also can't figure out why we have so many redundant systems." Colonel Carter smiled grimly. "Because we assume things will break, and we plan to keep fighting when they do." As the Terra Nova moved closer to the station, Morrison couldn't shake the feeling that they were being studied like specimens under a microscope. The escort ships maintained their formation, but he noticed their sensor sweeps were much more intensive than necessary for simple navigation. "Captain," Amy called out, "I'm monitoring communications from the station. They're calling this an evaluation phase and discussing something called integration protocols." Morrison exchanged glances with his senior officers. Integration protocols sounded like the Council expected Earth to simply fall in line with whatever system they had established. That might work for some species, but humans had never been particularly good at following other people's rules. Dr. Wang, run a full scan of their station. I want to know everything we can learn about their technology and capabilities. Already on it, Captain. Initial results suggest they have very advanced energy manipulation and manufacturing capabilities. Their computer systems appear to be quantum-based, several generations ahead of ours. But their defensive thinking seems ... limited. Limited how? They appear to have standardized everything. Same weapon types, same defensive patterns, same ship designs across multiple species. It's like they've all agreed to fight the same way. Colonel. Carter looked thoughtful. That makes sense if you're trying to maintain order across a large area. Standard equipment, standard tactics, standard responses. Very efficient for keeping the peace. But not very effective if someone doesn't play by the same rules. Morrison added. The Terra Nova glided into the massive docking bay, its bulk dwarfing the elegant alien vessels already berthed there. As the ship settled into its assigned space, Morrison could see crowds of different alien species gathering to observe the new arrivals. Some looked curious, others concerned, and a few appeared openly hostile. "Well, team," Morrison said to his bridge crew, "we're about to make history. Let's try not to start an interstellar war on our first day." Through the viewports, Ambassador Zethkara watched the human vessel complete its docking procedures. The ship's arrival had already generated more discussion among the Council than any first contact in recent memory. Something about these humans was different, and he wasn't sure if that was good or bad for the galaxy. The age of human expansion was about to begin, whether the Galactic Council was ready for it or not. The quarters of Council Station Alpha Prime stretched out like a monument to galactic civilization. Captain Jake Morrison walked beside Ambassador Zethkara, his boots echoing against the polished crystal floors. The walls displayed holographic images of great Council achievements, peaceful negotiations, technological advances, and the flags of hundreds of member species flowing in perfect harmony. Dr. Lisa Wang walked behind them, her scanner discreetly taking readings of everything. They passed. The energy efficiency of the station was remarkable, but she noticed something odd about the design patterns. Everything seemed built for show rather than function. "Your station is impressive, Ambassador," Morrison said, genuinely meaning it. "Thank you, Captain." It took the combined efforts of 12 species over 50 years to construct. Each section represents the finest achievements of our member civilizations. Colonel Steve Carter followed silently, his trained eye cataloging defensive positions and potential choke points. The security measures were sophisticated but predictable. Every checkpoint followed the same pattern. Every guard station was positioned according to some standard manual. They entered a vast chamber where representatives from different species waited at a curved table. Morrison recognized some of the types from the intelligence briefings Earth had prepared. The tall, insect-like Crexton delegates sat perfectly still in their ceremonial armor. The floating ethereal ones hovered in their containment fields, their gaseous forms shifting between different colors. "Council members," Ambassador Zethkara announced. "May I present Captain Morrison and his team from the planet Earth." An elderly being with silver skin and 4 arms rose from the central seat. "I am Elder Counselor Vexamer. We welcome you to the Galactic Council, Captain Morrison. Your species shows promise, but we must conduct proper evaluations before considering membership." Morrison nodded respectfully. "We understand, Counselor. Earth is eager to learn about galactic civilization and contribute what we can." The evaluation began with what the Council called standard protocols. Dr. Wang was asked to present human scientific achievements to a panel of the galaxy's leading researchers. She stood before a room full of beings whose species had mastered faster-than-light travel when humans were still learning to make fire. "Our development has been rapid by galactic standards," she began, activating a holographic display. "We achieved spaceflight in 1957 and reached our moon 12 years later. We developed computers that improved them thousands of times in just decades," a Velthari scientist interrupted. "Impossible. No species develops that quickly without outside assistance." "Who taught you these technologies?" "No one," Dr. Wang replied simply. "We figured it out ourselves." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The concept of truly independent technological development was apparently foreign to most council species. Dr. Wang continued her presentation, showing human medical advances, engineering solutions, and energy production methods. With each example, the alien scientists grew more uncomfortable. Humans had solved problems in ways that violated established scientific principles. Yet their solutions worked. Meanwhile, Colonel Carter faced his own evaluation in the military section. General Vexkar of the Crexton Empire led him through displays of galactic warfare doctrine. "As you can see," the general explained, gesturing at tactical displays, "civilized warfare follows strict protocols. Fleet formations, weapon ranges, defensive patterns, all standardized across the galaxy to minimize casualties and prevent unnecessary destruction." Carter studied the battle simulations with growing amazement. "You mean everyone fights the same way?" "Of course. It is efficient and prevents conflicts from escalating beyond control. But what if your enemy doesn't follow these rules?" General Vexkar's mandibles clicked in confusion. "All civilized species follow the protocols. It is the foundation of galactic peace." Carter was then invited to demonstrate human tactical thinking using their advanced combat simulator. The scenario was straightforward, a standard fleet engagement with balanced forces on both sides. The simulation expected him to follow established doctrine and achieve a minor victory within acceptable casualty parameters. Instead, Carter immediately broke formation, concentrated all his firepower on the enemy's command ship, and used his damaged vessels as weapons by ramming them into enemy formations. The simulation crashed twice before the computers could process his tactics. "This is irregular," General Vexkar admitted, staring at the results. "Your approach violates 17 different articles of civilized warfare." But it worked," Carter pointed out. "The enemy is defeated with minimal losses to my forces." Captain Morrison underwent his own test with Station Commander Kolthik, a proud member of the crystalline hierarchy. The commander was known for his ability to humble new species by demonstrating the vast superiority of Council technology. "This," the commander said, presenting an intricate device covered in shifting symbols, "is a quantum puzzle lock. It requires understanding of subspace mathematics, temporal mechanics, and multidimensional thinking. The average council citizen takes months to solve it. Graduate scientists need weeks. Morrison examined the device briefly, then handed it to Lieutenant Ben Rodriguez, Terra Nova's chief engineer. "Ben, what do you think?" Rodriguez turned the device over in his hands, studying the patterns. The symbols seemed to shift and change based on how you looked at them, but underneath the complexity, he recognized something familiar. "It's a combination lock," he said after a few minutes. "A really fancy one, but still just a combination lock. The symbols are red herrings. You have to ignore them and feel for the mechanical tumblers inside." He closed his eyes and slowly manipulated the device, listening for the tiny sounds of internal mechanisms. Within 10 minutes, the lock clicked open. Commander Kolthik stared in disbelief. "That is impossible. The device has 17 different locking mechanisms operating on 4-dimensional planes." "Maybe," Rodriguez shrugged, "but it still has moving parts. Moving parts wear in patterns, make sounds, leave traces. You just have to know how to listen." The final test took place in the Council's premier research laboratory. Dr. Wang was shown their most advanced energy distribution system, a marvel of engineering that had taken the combined efforts of 6 species to perfect over centuries. "This system provides power to the entire station with perfect efficiency," explained Chief Scientist Morden. "No energy loss, no waste, complete optimization." Dr. Wang studied the flowing patterns of energy visible through transparent conduits. The system was beautiful, elegant, and completely wrong for human thinking. "It is very impressive," she said carefully. "But what happens if one of the primary nodes fails?" "Fails?" Morden seemed confused by the concept. "The system does not fail. It is perfectly designed. But what if it did? What if there was damage or sabotage or just unexpected load demands?" The scientist's expression grew uncomfortable. "Such events are not anticipated in the design." "They would be problematic?" Dr. Wang nodded. "On Earth, we always assume things will break. So we build in redundancies, backup systems, alternative pathways. Your system is more efficient than ours, but ours can survive damage that would shut yours down completely." As the evaluations concluded, the human delegation was escorted to guest quarters. They had no idea that their performance had sent shockwaves through the council. Hierarchy. In the emergency session that followed, representatives from dozens of species argued over what they had witnessed. "They solved our most complex puzzles like children's toys," reported Commander Kolthik. "Their tactical thinking ignores all established doctrine," added General Lexkar. "Worse," said Chief Scientist Morden. "They assume failure and plan for disaster." It is a fundamentally different way of thinking. Ambassador Zethkara listened to the reports with growing unease. Every test had been designed to show human limitations and demonstrate Council superiority. Instead, they had revealed something far more troubling. Humans didn't just think differently, they thought dangerously. Where other species saw perfection, humans saw potential failure points. Where others followed established rules, humans made up new ones. Where others sought harmony and order, humans prepared for chaos and conflict. Elder Counselor Veximer called for silence. "The question before us is simple. Are these humans a species we can integrate into our civilization, or are they a threat that must be contained?" The debate that followed would determine not just humanity's fate, but the future of the galaxy itself. Back in their quarters, Captain Morrison reviewed the day's events with his team. "How do you think we did?" he asked. Dr. Wang looked thoughtful. "I think we impressed them." "I'm just not sure that's a good thing." Colonel Carter nodded grimly. "They expected us to fail their tests and be grateful for their guidance. Instead, we showed them that their way isn't the only way." Morrison stared out at the vast station surrounding them. Somewhere in those gleaming corridors, beings who had ruled the galaxy for millennia were deciding humanity's future. He just hoped they would choose wisely. The alarm bells rang through Council Station Alpha Prime at dawn. Captain Jake Morrison woke instantly, his military training kicking in as emergency lights flashed outside his quarters. Within minutes, Ambassador Zethkara was at his door with an urgent request. Captain Morrison, we have a situation in the Kepler sector. Pirates are attacking merchant vessels and the Council fleet is being deployed to handle it. Elder Counselor Vexamore has requested that your ship join the mission as observers. Morrison was already pulling on his uniform. Observers? To demonstrate how civilized species handle such problems. It will be educational for your people. Hour later, the Terra Nova was flying in formation with 12 Council warships. Admiral Tikvash commanded the fleet from his flagship, the massive dreadnought Dominion's Edge. The alien vessel was 3 times the size of Terra Nova and bristled. With weapons that gleamed like jewels against its silver hull. Dr. Lisa Wang monitored their communications from her station. Captain, they're treating this like a training exercise. Very formal procedures, predetermined formations, everything by the book. Colonel Steve Carter studied the tactical displays. Their ships are impressive, but they're flying like they're on parade. No randomness, no deception, just straight-line approaches. Contact ahead, reported Amy Patterson from communications. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. The main screen lit up with the image of the Kepler sector. Instead of the small pirate group they expected, a massive fleet of rogue Crexton warships waited for them. 47 vessels arranged. In perfect attack formation, their dark hulls scarred from countless battles. This is Admiral Tikvash to all ships, came the transmission. We are facing unexpected opposition. Standard withdrawal protocol is now in effect. We will retreat to minimum safe distance and call for reinforcements. Morrison watched in amazement as the entire Council fleet began an orderly retreat. They moved in precise formations, following what was obviously a well-rehearsed procedure. They're running away? Asked Lieutenant Ben Rodriguez from the engineering station. Not running, Colonel Carter corrected. Conducting a tactical withdrawal according to their doctrine? Very sensible, really. They're outnumbered 3-1. Sir? Dr. Wang called out. The pirates are following them. And they're not following any doctrine I recognize. The rogue Crexton ships attacked like wolves, breaking formation to strike at weak points in the Council fleet's defensive line. Their tactics were brutal and effective, designed to cause maximum damage rather than follow any rules of civilized warfare. Captain Morrison, Admiral Tikvash's voice crackled over the com. Please maintain position with the fleet. We will withdraw to safe distance and await proper reinforcements. Morrison watched the display as Council ships took heavy damage. The alien admiral was right to retreat. His forces were outgunned and unprepared for this level of aggressive tactics. But the merchant ships they had come to protect were still under attack. Amy, open a channel to Admiral Tikvash, Morrison ordered. Channel open, sir. Admiral, this is Captain Morrison. Request permission to engage the enemy. There was a long pause. Captain, you have only one ship. The enemy has 47 vessels. Such action would be suicide. Maybe, but those merchant ships need help now, not after reinforcements arrive. I cannot authorize such action. It violates all standard protocols. Morrison looked at his bridge crew. Dr. Wang nodded firmly. Colonel Carter was already moving to the tactical station. Amy Patterson's fingers were dancing over her console, ready to implement whatever crazy plan her captain was developing. Amy, close channel to the Admiral. Open ship-wide communications. Ship-wide channel open, sir. All hands, this is the captain. We're about to do something that will either make us heroes or get us all killed. The Council fleet is retreating according to their rules, but innocent people are dying while they wait for backup. We're going in alone. He paused, looking around. The bridge at his crew. Anyone who wants to transfer to one of the Council ships can do so now. No shame in it. No one moved. Ben, give me everything the engines have. Dr. Wang, prepare all our scientific equipment for combat use. Colonel Carter, you have tactical command. Amy, jam all their communications. I want chaos in their ranks. Sir, Carter called out, their formation is designed to handle traditional fleet attacks. But what if we don't attack like a fleet? Morrison smiled grimly. What did you have in mind, Colonel? We go straight through the middle. Use our structural. Integrity as a weapon, hit them where they least expect it. The Terra Nova broke away from the Council fleet and accelerated toward the pirate formation. The human ship's engines burned brighter than any Council vessel could manage, pushing the limits of what their technology could handle. "Incoming missiles," reported Carter. 43 separate launches. "Evasive maneuvers," Morrison ordered. "But keep us on course for their command ship." The Terra Nova twisted through space like a living thing, dodging some missiles while deliberately ramming through others. The ship's thick armor plating, which had puzzled Council engineers, now proved its worth as it absorbed damage that would have crippled more elegant vessels. "Hull breaches on decks 4 and 7, Ben reported. "But we're still holding together." Dr. Kate Sullivan's voice came over the come from medical. "Multiple injuries, but nothing we can't handle. Keep fighting." The Terra Nova reached the enemy formation and did something no civilized ship had ever attempted. Instead of stopping to engage in proper ship-to-ship combat, it rammed straight through the pirate line at full speed. The first enemy ship tried to block their path. Terra Nova's reinforced bows smashed through its shield grid and hull plating like it was made of paper. The second ship fired everything it had, but the human vessel kept coming, returning fire with weapons that ignored proper target priorities and simply destroyed whatever was in front of them. "Sir," Amy called out, "their communications are in chaos. They don't know how to respond to this." Chief Tactical Officer Ryan Brooks coordinated the attack from his station, targeting enemy ships with a combination of precision and creativity that broke every rule of space combat. Instead of engaging the strongest ships first, he attacked the weakest ones to create debris fields that confused enemy sensors. "Ben, I need more power to the forward guns," Brooks called out. "You've got it. But I'm bypassing 3 safety systems." "To do it anyway." The Terra Nova carved a path of destruction through the pirate fleet. Ships that tried to follow traditional pursuit patterns found themselves flying into debris fields or ambush positions. The human vessel moved unpredictably, sometimes slowing to engage multiple targets, sometimes accelerating to ram through defensive lines. Dr. Wang had repurposed their scientific sensors into targeting systems, giving them accuracy that surprised even experienced pirate captains. "I'm reading structural weaknesses in their hull designs." Transmitting target coordinates to Ryan. "Got them, Doc. These ships weren't built for this kind of punishment." The battle reached its climax when Terra Nova engaged the pirate flagship. In single combat, the enemy vessel was twice their size and carried weapons that could destroy a Council cruiser with a single shot. But it had never faced an opponent that treated space combat like a street fight. Morrison ordered a direct ramming attack on the flagship's command section. The pirate captain tried to escape, but Terra Nova pursued him through an asteroid field, using the rocks as cover and weapons. "Hull integrity at 40%, Ben reported. But their flagship just lost main power. "All ships," Morrison broadcast. "On an open channel, this is Terra Nova. Your flagship is disabled. Surrender now or we'll finish what we started." The remaining pirate ships hesitated. They had never encountered tactics like this. In their confusion, several collided with each other, trying to reform their lines. "Sir," Amy reported, 23. "Enemy ships are surrendering, the rest are fleeing the system." Morrison slumped in his command chair, exhaustion finally hitting him. "Ben, damage report." "We're hurt bad, Captain, but we'll make it home." "Hull breaches sealed, engines still running, weapons mostly functional." Dr. Sullivan's voice came over. "To come again, medical bay to bridge. We have 17 injured, but everyone will recover." Dr. Wang, "I need you down here. One of your sensor modifications exploded, and I need to know what chemicals might be in the air." As the adrenaline faded, Morrison realized what they had done. They had engaged a fleet 3 times their size and won. More importantly, they had done it in a way that violated every principle of civilized warfare. "Captain," Amy said quietly, "we're receiving a transmission from Admiral Tikvash." "Put him through." The alien admiral's image appeared on screen, his expression unreadable. "Captain Morrison, that was the most reckless, dangerous, and effective combat operation I have ever witnessed. You have saved the merchant vessels and eliminated a threat that would have required weeks for the Council to properly address. Morrison nodded. Thank you, Admiral. I am not sure it was a compliment, Captain. Your tactics will be studied and debated for years to come. You have changed the nature of warfare in a single engagement. As the Terra Nova limped back toward Council space, escorted by the intact fleet ships, Morrison couldn't shake the feeling that they had crossed a line they couldn't uncross. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened 12 hours after the Terra Nova returned to Alpha Prime Station. In the great chamber where civilized beings had debated peace for thousands of years, an atmosphere of barely controlled panic filled the air. Elder Counselor Veximer stood at the center podium, his forearms spread wide as he addressed the assembled representatives. Fellow council members, we face an unprecedented situation. The humans have demonstrated capabilities that challenge our fundamental understanding of warfare and civilization. Ambassador Zethkara rose from his seat, his scaled hands gripping the speaker's rail. Honored Elder, I have reviewed the battle, recording 17 times. What we witnessed was not warfare as we understand it. It was controlled chaos. General Vexkar of the Crexton Empire clicked his mandibles in agitation. The humans ignored every principle of civilized combat. They used their own ship as a weapon. They rammed through formations instead of engaging properly. They turned scientific equipment into targeting systems during battle. Most disturbing, added Chief Scientist Morden, is their approach to problem solving. Where we see obstacles, they see opportunities. Where we calculate risks, they calculate possibilities. The chamber erupted in discussions as representatives from dozens of species voiced their concerns. The floating ethereal ones changed colors rapidly, their gaseous forms shifting between angry reds and worried blues. The crystalline delegates chimed in harmonious discord, while the plant-based Verdani rustled their leaves in distress. Meanwhile, Captain Morrison and his crew were exploring the civilian areas of the station, unaware of the crisis their actions had triggered. Dr. Lisa Wang walked through the medical district, her scientific curiosity drawing her to examine alien healing technologies. Fascinating, she murmured to Dr. Kate Sullivan as they observed a Velthari healing chamber. Their approach is completely different from ours. They focus on perfecting the technology rather than preparing for when it fails. A nervous alien doctor approached them. Forgive me, but I overheard your conversation. You prepare for medical equipment to fail? Dr. Sullivan nodded. Of course, on Earth, we always have backup procedures, manual alternatives, emergency protocols. Technology is wonderful, but people still need help when it breaks down. The alien doctor's scales shifted color with surprise. But why would you assume failure? Our equipment is designed to be perfect. Perfect is a dangerous word in medicine. Wang replied gently. Patients don't always respond the way textbooks say they should. Sometimes you need to improvise. Their casual conversation was being monitored by station security, adding to the growing file of concerning human behaviors. In another section of the station, Lieutenant Ben Rodriguez was chatting with alien engineers about maintenance procedures. His questions about redundant systems and emergency repairs were causing significant distress among beings who had never considered such possibilities. You check your systems for weakness? Asked a crystalline engineer, its voice ringing like bells. But why? If they are built correctly, they should not fail. Rodriguez scratched his head. Back home, we have a saying, anything that can go wrong will go wrong, so we plan for it. This is a very dark philosophy, the engineer replied. Maybe, but it keeps people alive when things get tough. Amy Patterson was having her own revelations in the communications center. Her casual suggestions for improving their translation systems had sent the alien linguists into emergency meetings. Your communication methods are very direct, observed. An ethereal translator, its gaseous form shimmering with confusion. You say exactly what you mean. Usually, Amy agreed. Why wouldn't we? Most civilized species use layered meaning, cultural context, implied understanding. Direct communication can be unsettling. The most alarming reports came from Colonel Carter's visit to the military museum. His professional analysis of historical battles had horrified the curator. "You are saying our greatest military leaders were wrong?" the curator asked, a tall being from the hegemony of minds. "Not wrong," Carter explained patiently. "Just limited by their thinking. They followed rules that made sense for their time and technology, but rules can be changed. The protocols exist to prevent unnecessary destruction and maintain civilized order. I understand that. But what happens when your enemy doesn't care about your rules?" The curator had no answer. Back in the council chamber, Ambassador Zethkara was presenting his analysis to the increasingly worried assembly. "The humans do not just fight differently," he explained, displaying holographic recordings of the recent battle. "They think differently. Observe how they approach problems." The recordings showed Terra Nova's ramming attack, but Zethkara slowed them down to highlight specific moments. "Here, when faced with superior numbers, they do not retreat or call for help. They attack directly into the center of enemy strength. Here, when their weapons are damaged, they use their ship itself as a weapon. Here, when normal tactics fail, they invent new ones in the middle of battle." Elder Counselor Vexamer studied the images with growing unease. This suggests a fundamental difference in thinking patterns. Most species evolved toward cooperation and standardization. The humans appear to have evolved toward adaptation and innovation. Worse than that, General Vexkar added grimly, they seem to enjoy the challenge. Watch their communications during the battle. They are excited, not afraid. The recordings played audio from Terra Nova's bridge during the fight. Instead of fear or formal military protocol, the council heard humans laughing, joking, and encouraging each other even as their ship was being torn apart. "This is Captain Morrison to all hands," came Morrison's voice through the speakers. "Things are getting interesting up here. Hold on tight and show these pirates how humans fight." The response from the crew was immediate and enthusiastic. Even while injured, they worked harder and faster than any council species would have thought possible. "They treat mortal combat as an opportunity for achievement," observed Chief Scientist Morden. "This is completely outside our understanding of rational behavior." Admiral Tikvash, who had witnessed the battle firsthand, rose to address the chamber. "Honored council members, I must report additional concerns. We have intercepted communications from the human home system. The Terra Nova is not their only interstellar vessel." A holographic display showed intelligence reports from the Sol system. Admiral Sarah Mitchell's task force was already en route to council space, including warships with names like Liberty Bell and Constitution. "Furthermore," Admiral Tikvash continued, "our deep space monitoring stations have detected human colony ships heading toward the Proxima and Rigel systems. These are areas we classified as too dangerous for settlement due to hostile native life and unstable environmental conditions." "Are the humans aware of these dangers?" asked Counselor Vexamer. "Our analysis suggests they are not only aware but consider the dangers to be acceptable challenges." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humans were not just capable of surviving in hostile environments, they seemed to prefer them. "There is one more thing," Admiral Tikvash said reluctantly. "Our cultural analysts have been studying human entertainment media and historical records. They have a concept they call 'hold my beer and watch this.'" "What does this mean?" asked several voices. "It appears to be a declaration humans make before attempting something especially dangerous or impossible. They seem to find such activities enjoyable." The silence that followed was broken by a communication alert. Amy Patterson's voice came through the chamber's speakers. "Council Station Alpha Prime, this is Terra Nova Communications. We're receiving a transmission from Earthfleet Command. Admiral Mitchell's task force will arrive in 72 hours. They're requesting docking clearance for 3 heavy cruisers and asking about local recreational facilities." The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. Elder Counselor Vexamer finally spoke. "The question is no longer whether humans can be integrated into our civilization. The question is whether our civilization can survive integration with humans." Ambassador Zethkara looked around the chamber at faces filled with fear and uncertainty. Perhaps we should consider the possibility that humanity represents something we have not encountered before, a species that thrives on chaos rather than order. What do we do? Asked a dozen voices at once. Vexamer's expression was grim. We prepare for a future none of us expected. The age of human expansion is beginning whether we approve or not. Our choice is to adapt or be left behind. In their quarters aboard Terra Nova, Captain Morrison reviewed reports from his crew about their day on the station. Each interaction had been friendly and educational, but he couldn't shake the feeling that they had somehow made the aliens nervous. Dr. Wang, your assessment of Council technology? Impressive but fragile, Captain. They've optimized for efficiency, rather than resilience. It works perfectly until something goes wrong. Colonel Carter? Their military thinking is sophisticated but predictable. They've created a stable system that maintains peace through mutual understanding of limitations. Amy, they're nice people, Captain, but they seem scared of change. Like they've found something that works and don't want to risk improving it. The final council session began at dawn on the third day after humanity's arrival. Elder Counselor Vexamer had spent the night in deep meditation, consulting archives that had not been opened for thousands of years. What he had discovered would change everything. Captain Jake Morrison stood before the assembled council, unaware that his species' future hung in the balance. Ambassador Zethkara had simply told him that the council wished to hear humanity's intentions directly from their representative. Honored council members, Morrison began, his voice steady despite the weight of hundreds of alien eyes upon him. Earth comes to you in friendship. We seek knowledge, trade, and peaceful cooperation with all civilized species. Captain Morrison, interrupted General Vexkar, his mandibles clicking nervously, your ship's recent actions suggest that humans have a very different definition of peaceful cooperation. Morrison looked puzzled. Sir, we defended innocent merchants from pirates. Where I come from, that's exactly what peaceful people do when faced with violence. But your methods violated every established protocol of civilized warfare, the general pressed. With respect, General, the pirates weren't following your protocols either. When someone is trying to kill you, you use whatever works. A ripple of unease passed through the chamber. This casual acceptance of breaking rules to achieve necessary results was exactly what terrified many council members. Chief Scientist Morden rose from his seat. Captain, our analysis suggests that humans approach problems by assuming systems will fail and planning for chaos. This is fundamentally different from how civilized species operate. Morrison nodded. That's probably true. We've learned that. Hoping for the best isn't the same as preparing for the worst. Things go wrong, people make mistakes, and unexpected problems show up when you least expect them. But such thinking leads to constant change and instability. Protested a crystalline delegate, its voice ringing like wind chimes. How can civilization advance if nothing remains constant? Change isn't the enemy of progress, Morrison replied. It's the engine of progress. Every time we solve a problem, we learn something new. Every time something breaks, we build it back better. Dr. Lisa Wang stepped forward from where she had been standing with the human delegation. If I may, council members, I'd like to share something we discovered yesterday. Elder Counselor Vexamer gestured for her to continue. Your medical technology is centuries ahead of ours, but your doctors are terrified of equipment failure because they have no backup procedures. Your engineering is beautiful, but your engineers panic when we ask about redundancy systems. You've created perfection, but you've forgotten how to handle imperfection. The chamber erupted in discussions. Some delegates were offended by the suggestion that their systems were flawed. Others were disturbed by the implications of what Dr. Wang was saying. Ambassador Zethkara called for silence. Dr. Wang, are you suggesting that human chaos thinking is somehow superior to our organized civilization? Not superior, she replied carefully, just different. You've created a stable, peaceful galaxy by making everyone follow the same rules. But what happens when you encounter something that doesn't fit your rules? Colonel Steve Carter spoke up from beside Morrison. Yesterday, we met your greatest military minds and your most advanced scientists. They're brilliant, but they all think the same way. When we showed them different approaches, they couldn't understand them. This is exactly the problem, General, Dexkar said, his voice rising. Humans refuse to accept established order. You question everything, change everything, disrupt everything you touch. Maybe, Morrison admitted. But we also fix things that are broken, solve problems that seem impossible, and survive situations that should kill us. Elder Counselor Veximer had remained silent throughout the debate, but now he stood slowly. His ancient face was grave as he looked out over the assembled council. Before we make our decision about humanity, he said, his voice carrying the authority of centuries, there is something you all must know. Something that changes everything we thought we understood? The chamber fell silent. Veximer activated a holographic display that showed star charts dating back 50,000 years. I have spent the night consulting our oldest archives, records from the very founding of the Council. There are references there to a species that matches human characteristics exactly. A race that refused to follow established protocols, that solved problems through adaptation rather than optimization, that thrived in hostile environments other species avoided. The hologram showed ancient ship designs that bore a striking resemblance to human vessels, functional rather than elegant, built for survival rather than beauty. What happened to this species? Asked Ambassador Zethkara, though his voice suggested. He already suspected the answer. They disappeared from our records approximately 50,000 years ago. The archive suggests they chose to leave council space rather than conform to our standards of civilization. Morrison felt a chill run down his spine. Are you saying humans were here before? I'm saying that humans may not be newcomers to this galaxy. You may be coming home. The implications hit the chamber like a shockwave. If humans had been here before, if they had chosen exile rather than conformity, then everything the council thought they knew about the situation was wrong. The records are incomplete, Veximer continued, but they suggest this ancient human civilization spread across the galaxy's outer rim, settling worlds we considered uninhabitable, surviving in conditions that would destroy other species. Dr. Wang's scientific mind raced with possibilities. That would explain our rapid technological development. If we're rediscovering rather than inventing. It would also explain your seemingly instinctive understanding of space warfare, added Admiral Teakvash grimly. You fought like you had done it before. The chamber buzzed with nervous energy as the full scope of the situation became clear. Humanity wasn't a young species seeking guidance. They were the descendants of an ancient civilization returning to reclaim their place in the galaxy. So what happens now? Morrison asked. Veximer looked around the chamber at faces filled with fear, uncertainty, and in some cases something approaching panic. Now we make a choice that will determine the future of galactic civilization. We can welcome humanity as equals, knowing that you will inevitably challenge and change our established order. We can attempt to contain you, knowing that history suggests humans do not respond well to barriers. Or we can try to prevent your expansion, knowing that such action would likely lead to a war against an enemy that has already demonstrated they do not fight by our rules. There is a fourth option, Ambassador Zethkara said quietly. We can learn from them. The chamber fell silent at this radical suggestion. For 50,000 years we have maintained peace through standardization and control. But what if we have been limiting ourselves? What if human chaos thinking is not a threat to civilization but an evolution of it? General Dexkar's mandibles clicked in distress. You cannot be serious. Their way leads to constant conflict and instability. Does it? Zethkara challenged. Or does it lead to growth, adaptation, and survival? How many problems have we failed to solve because we were afraid to break our own rules? Before the debate could continue, Amy Patterson's voice crackled through the chamber's communication system. Council Station Alpha Prime, this is Terra Nova Communications. Admiral Mitchell's task force has just dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of your system. They're requesting immediate permission to dock and asking if you need any assistance with local security issues. A second transmission followed almost immediately, this one from Earth itself. Galactic Council Station, this is Earth Fleet Command. Be advised that our deep space monitoring stations have detected potential threats in your sector. We're dispatching additional task forces to provide support. Dr. Peter Hayes also wanted us to mention that our planetary defense systems are now fully operational. The transmissions ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. The humans weren't just returning to the galaxy, they were already spreading across it, building colonies, deploying fleets, and developing weapons that could defend entire worlds. Elder Counselor Vexamore looked at Morrison with something that might have been respect. Captain Morrison, your species has presented us with a choice we never expected to face. You have shown us that our way is not the only way, and perhaps not even the best way. Morrison met his gaze steadily. Elder Counselor, Earth has always believed that diversity makes everyone stronger. We don't want to replace your civilization, we want to add to it. And if we refuse? Morrison's expression remained calm, but there was steel in his voice. Then we'll respect your decision and build our own civilization alongside yours. But we won't go back into exile. Humanity is here to stay. Vexamer nodded slowly. Then we must decide what kind of galaxy we want to live in. One where different ways of thinking are seen as threats to be contained, or one where they are seen as opportunities to grow. The vote that followed was closer than anyone expected. In the end, the council chose adaptation over stagnation, growth over safety, and an uncertain future over a stagnant past.